Okay, we have this issue here. A fellow raises a question or he makes a comment and he says the following: materialist logical fallacy begins with rejecting scripture. Okay, so he started by rejecting or accepting scripture, right? He says anyone who rejects scripture is already entering in some kind of materialistic fallacy. Okay, the world is divided between two kinds of people, essentially, for the purposes of physics, and 99% of the people in the world are spiritualists, and they have no idea what physics is about. They explain things in terms of God, angels, spirits. They use concepts. They move concepts around. Okay? We have all these people out there who have all these abstractions, and they want to do physics with abstractions. And when all else fails, the spiritualists, some of the extreme ones, especially those who are tied to traditionalist religions, they just say, well, it's all God, you know. And yeah, with that, they haven't explained anything. And they didn't understand anything. They don't care to understand anything. They just want to tell you that they know, and knowledge implies God. That's it. That's as far as their knowledge goes. And the materialist is probably 1% of humanity. Okay, and those are the only ones who can ever be physicists. Okay, why is that? Well, in order to be a physicist, you need to know the golden principle of physics. Here's the golden principle. Okay, memorize it. Say it in your prayers at night, every night. Okay, here it goes. Okay, the golden principle of physics. Physics requires an object. You can't do physics without an object. Okay, and people say, well, why do you need an object? Well, imagine that there's nothing at all in the universe. No object, no nothing. What is happening? What are you imagining? What are you visualizing? I mean, there's nothing going on without objects. You need objects to do physics. Okay? And so those people who explain with abstract concepts, such as the mathematicians of the establishment, well, they have a problem because they're using essentially spirits to do their physical interpretations, their mechanisms. And so they put in there the concepts, energy and mass and force, right? Time. They work time, and do all these fancy things. And they're all doing, what they're doing is moving concepts around. Okay. And that ain't physics. Okay. That's known as religion. All of mathematical so-called physics, not mathematics. Mathematics is something else. Mathematics is equations, numbers, operations. That's something else. But when the mathematician crosses the line into physics, now he's doing religion. Math is math. Physics is physics. Never the twain shall meet. Okay? And it's when people from the mathematical world cross over the line and say, oh, I can tell you how this universe works. Okay, tell me. And you say, okay, how does gravity work? How does magnetism work? Here you have two magnets. Okay? How does that work? How did that happen? What caused this to happen? Okay? And they say, well, I can give you a mathematical description. That's not what I asked. I asked for an explanation. I want a mechanism. And if they're going to do it with concepts, you're going to say, there's a field. Well, what is a field? Please draw it. I want to see what kind of physical object a field is. So you have to begin by drawing it, by showing me, pointing to the object, the thing you call field. That's the issue. And of course, they can't do that because field is a concept. In fact, if you look up the word, field is simply a bunch of numbers extending radially from ground to zero and getting weaker and weaker from that point. That's all a field is. It's a bunch of numbers, a bunch of magnitudes. So there is no physical standalone object like a table called field. That's the problem. And so this fellow here, Wally Russell, he was a mystic. He was an ascetic. Okay? He had little birdies in his head. He thought in the abstract mode. He didn't do physics with physical objects. Okay, that was his downfall, I guess. And he does have a few followers out there, and I'm going to talk about a couple of them today. Anyways, this was Wally, and what does he say? Well, Russell said one day he had this moment of enlightenment, nirvana. I guess he saw the light. Light shone on his brain, I guess, and he said, I could perceive all motion and was newly aware of all things. Oh, my God. Bartender, I want to drink whatever he drank. Okay, so yeah, he had a moment of enlightenment. Suddenly he saw the light. So what does he say? What is it that he saw? Did God touch his head with God's hand, So the cardinal error of science is shutting the creator out of his creation. Oh my God. So he's going to do everything with God. Okay? He's going to have the hand of God work in there, do the miracles for him. Okay, that's how he's going to, I guess, explain mechanisms of physics, physical interpretations. So he said, God is the invisible, motionless, sexless. No, God is sexless. Yeah, I guess he doesn't have a belly button, right? No mother. Undivided and unconditioned white magnetic light of mind, which centers all things. What a bad start, for a physicist. If you want to be a physicist, you want to come into physics, you want to talk about physical interpretations, how magnetism works, how gravity works, how light works, the atom, and so on. This is a bad start. The guy says, let me bring God into the room. That's how he starts. I mean, nothing wrong with you believing in God. You want to believe in God? No problem. Go out there and do your Sunday school stuff. But when you come into physics, you can't bring God with you. Sorry, okay? Because when you bring God with you, what you're doing is bringing the magic wand. You're doing magic, black magic. You're going to say that the curtain moved because your great-grandmother spirit came back or something from heaven, or something along those lines. And no, those are not valid explanations, rational explanations in physics. Okay? So he continues, says, God is provable by laboratory method. He's going to prove God with some kind of experiment, I guess, maybe mix two liquids, produce God, like Aladdin's lamp, rub it and the genie comes out. I guess that's the experiment he had in mind. Said the locatable motionless light, which man calls magnetism, is the light which God is. Oh man, I'm glad he finally discovered, how magnetism works. It says religion and science must come together in a new age. So I guess he preceded, the Templeton Foundation that tries to unite physics or science and religion. Yeah, there's not much more to say about poor little old Wally. He had no idea about anything. He was a mystic. Okay, Nirvana, maybe too many beers, who knows what. But he's still a popular guy among some minority groups, some dissidents out there. And here we have one of them who was Nikola Tesla. Okay, Tesla said the following about Mr. Russell. And it says, lock up this cosmic knowledge in a safe for 1,000 years until man is ready for it. Yeah, good old Nicholas. He also was a mystic. Okay, he ultimately said that everything is God. So he had these ideas about how to run physics. He was not a scientist. Tesla. I mean, neither Russell or Tesla. They were not scientists. They were, in the case of Tesla, he was just an inventor. And it was easy, more or less, for him to invent things in his days because we were just starting with electricity and building gadgets for the first time, the light bulb, Edison, and so on, And so in those days, one person could still invent some stuff out there. Today, like in the industry I work with or for semiconductors, it takes a whole bunch of people to create a chip. Things have gotten a lot more complicated. You can't have just one guy out there invent something, as complicated as a chip or develop it further. You need a whole team. And so the inventions are becoming more and more difficult. But in the days of Tesla, we were just discovering things. He was a sharp guy for that kind of thing. He had a good intuition. And so he invented things. How do you invent things? And Edison, his ex-boss, right? They run Tesla, went to work for Westinghouse, but said it correctly. He said, I have not failed. I've just discovered 10,000 ways that don't work. And that was essentially a summary of technology. Technology is developed by trial and error, okay? And it has nothing to do with science whatsoever. Science, explanations. You need to explain a mechanism. That's what science is. And Tesla could never explain anything. In fact, one of the problems with both Tesla and Russell is that they use the words I covered the other day. You can't use any of these words in science. If you make your case with any of these words, you are a religious fanatic. You are not a scientist, okay? So if you see your words in there, okay? Force, field, energy, mass, time, wave, charge, ether, electricity, plasma, density, gravity, and so on down the line. If you use any of these words to make your case in science, you've stepped into the wrong forum. You should take this to your Sunday school preacher, okay? What is an idiot? An idiot is a theorist with big ideas. Okay, and so that's the type of people who use these forbidden concepts. Okay, we don't use any of these concepts in science, in physics. Okay, so if you're using any of these concepts, it means they were shoved up your nose holes, right? In high school by the mathematicians. They put those words in your mouth. So if you spit out any of these words and you say, oh, force, it was the field, it was the wave, the vortex, electricity did it, then it means you got all these words from the mathematical establishment. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, that's where you got them. Okay, so this is what Russell had to say about light. Okay, he said, whether light is corpuscular, as Newton claimed it to be, or a wave, right, there is much evidence in favor of both theories. And what does he conclude? He says, it is both. Okay, that's a good way of being at peace with both God and the devil. Okay, it's both. It's a particle, and it is also a wave. Okay, and he goes on there. He says there need be no mystery as to whether light is corpuscular or wave, for waves of motion which simulate the light and darkness of space are all there is. Okay, this is his assessment. It turns out that he's not going to vouch for the corpuscular version at all. He was completely a wave theorist because at no point does he mention the corpuscle, the particle. Okay, he never defends it. In fact, he says even the corpuscle is a wave. He says light is expressed by motion. Okay, all motion is wave motion. Okay, I don't know if that's true, but he got that from the quantum folk. All waves are expressed by fields of equal and opposite pressures of two-way motion. Well, there's no such thing as a field, Mr. Wally. Okay, so whenever he uses any word like wave or field, he's talking nonsense. He continues, says all space within wave fields is curved. Oh my God, so we have curved space. Again, that happens after the 10th beer usually, okay? All matter is wave motion. He says together these constitute what we call matter and space. It has been difficult to conceive light as being purely corpuscular, for light is presumed to fill all space. Okay, so light is everywhere, right? But we don't know what light is, so all he says it's just a wave motion. That's all it is. And then he says space is not empty. It's not empty. Well, space is not a thing, Mr. Wally. So, to say space is empty or full is nonsense. Space is a synonym of nothing. Nothing is that which doesn't have shape. You cannot fill that which doesn't have shape. Okay? And he says it is full of wave motion. So space is full of motion. Okay, that's great. A lot of movement, and we still don't have an object. We don't know what's moving. Corpuscles of matter are one half of wave cycles of light. Space is the other half. Yeah, this poor fella, he did not make much sense at all. And therefore, he was not a physicist. He was just an amateur, a religionist. He was a spiritualist. He did everything with spirits. Now, he has some followers in modern day world, okay? And I'm going to talk about two of them, okay? And one of them is this fellow, and his name is Robert Audi, okay? Robert Audi. And he styles himself as a cosmologist. He's a sacred geometrician. He believes in sacred geometry. And he obviously is a follower of Russell. He vouches for Russellian science, okay? He claims to be agnostic, and just in case, that's not the same thing as an agnostic, okay? Gnosticism, the belief that human beings contain a piece of God within themselves, which has fallen from the immaterial world into the bodies of humans. Okay, so you can see where this poor fellow is coming from, okay? And he's a mystic also, cosmic jester, I guess he's a clown, okay? Shamanic voyeur, maybe? He said voyager. Maybe he just confused the words. He's an environmentalist. He does a lot of water research. Water researcher. All I can tell him is that, water is very easy. Just H2O. That's it. That's all you need to know about water. Anyways, Robert Audi currently works as a foreman of a horse ranch and a master gardener, caring for the animals, walnut, and fruit trees, orchards, and organic gardens on a ranch. And this was from 2012. Why do I mention Mr. Audi? Okay, and I think I would remove some letters from his name. He likes to call his name Robert Aute or Ote or something along those lines. I guess he thinks he's French or something. And actually, I'd rather remove some letters from his name and call him, Robot. Okay? because the other day he came to my site here and he put a lot of comments. Okay? He put a lot of comments, repeated comments. Some people thought that maybe he was using a bot of some kind. Okay, and it was not nice what he was doing. Now, I don't mind people coming here and cussing my mother out. No problem. I have no problem with that at all. In fact, I think it's good for two reasons. One, it means that they hate me so much. That means that I tickled them. Okay, and that's good. And then the other one is, I want to be honest. If they hate my guts, I don't want you to butter me up. Just tell me how you really feel. So in both cases, it's good. And I have no problem with people doing that. But see, when you put a lot of comments, like gazillions of comments, one right after another, and you're just swamping the site, well, you're not bothering me as much, but you're bothering other people. You're interfering with communication. And so all I can ask, good old Robbie, the robot, to, behave. Okay. Now it's important to understand where this fellow is coming from. Okay. And why he comes here so often, And here's a comment that I made to him. This was in 2012, okay, about the time that he posted his bio, okay. Robert Audi of Free Energy was upset when I told him there was no such thing as energy, vortices, waves, okay, and that really upset him. Fortunately, all the idiots of his group decided to stop following me on YouTube. Thank God, okay. It's good to weed out the rubbish, separate the men from the mice, so to speak. Science is not about number of hands, but about rational explanations. You can't sacrifice one for the other. So yeah, Robbie has been following me since then, and that's quite creepy. Please don't follow me. Okay? But despite all his degrees and, what he boasts about, Robbie had a problem, okay, a few years ago. In fact, he had, I think, a couple of problems, okay? His ranch burnt down in Northern California because there was a wildfire over there. And there were several, in fact, up there. And so he had a lot of trouble because of that. In fact, FEMA came in there and moved them out and put them into trailers. I think the one in 2012, he wasn't very happy about that. Then he went back. Then he had another fire over there. Some people say it was made by bgaede, maybe. Okay, maybe I did it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Anyways, you can see the population has been dropping in that region. Okay, a lot of people are leaving. Why is that? Well, here you have a comment from the Wikipedia. It says, with the destruction of most unpermitted structures and forests during the 2008 fires, the pattern of residences, commercial land use, informal and formal market industries, and recreational use has changed. There has not been any large-scale residential development in the region. The baby boomer bulge was expected to result in a steady stream of retirees into the region. To date, however, the population has declined despite the retirees. Okay, so what happened is, the land that he purchased probably is worth half as much today. So he's probably not happy about that, but he styles himself as a big horticulture and, that he plants and he's got gardens and so on. I don't think so. And here's an interview he conceded a couple years ago. Okay, and this is what he says. He says, my ranch was burned to the ground 7:45 a.m., only a little over an hour after it started in Pulgas, where the fire began. My cabin caught on fire on both sides, and I ran through 30-foot long flames being driven by 60 miles per hour winds in a huge fire vortex. He uses the word vortex because he's a fanatic of these vortices, right? But there you can see that he fell on hard times. It says, if you would like to support Robert, go to his website, and there you have it, his famous free energy and free thinking site. Okay. Again, why do I mention him? Well, because this all has very little to do out there. And so what he does is he goes to sites, especially my site, and he bombards me with stuff. And that's no problem. I have no problem with that at all. Really, I don't. But again, if he interferes with communication by posting, many repeated comments, he's interrupting communication for other people. That's a little different, okay? So I have a problem with that part. Anyways, because he's, I imagine him in his little hut like Ted Kaczynski. He's the guy who sent all these bombs out there by mail, mail order bombs. And this guy's angry at the world. He talks about love. He's a fanatic of love, but he doesn't love humankind. He's angry at mankind. And so he goes out there and he has a lot of trouble. everywhere. And if you go to his site, you'll find something like this. You'll find YouTube has deleted all his videos, okay, and terminated his accounts many times. And so what he does is creates all these sock puppets, okay, and he creates one every day almost. Why? Because he gets banned constantly. He doesn't behave very well out there. Again, maybe the Ted Kaczynski type. Maybe one day he'll send a bomb to someone. Yeah, who knows? Anyways, this is what Robbie has in his site. If you decide to go in there, it says many vastly. This is just one article that essentially tells a lot about him. It says many vastly different gods are worshipped by the descendants of the European invaders who populate the USA. So which god are these politicians asking to bless us? North America, otherwise known as Turtle Island, is the land of the native god Guantanamera. Okay, I never hear his name mentioned by the politicians. Why? As the great spirit and sacred mystery, which is called the everything or the one, took breath, it inhaled with implosive force its Chuluaki and thus discovered its female being. Maybe that resonated with him, the fact that he discovered his female being or something. This creative receptive force became the egg of all creation, known as the Wakan, the universe or sacred grandmother. Then Guantanamera exhaled, and in doing so discovered its male side. Okay, so we have this male and female side, the active conceptive force, the seed of all creation, known as the Sakwan, the galaxy, our sacred grandfather, etc., etc. Okay, so if you go to his site, that's about the best you're going to get. You're going to get stuff like that. So you can see why he's a follower of Russell, okay, and what little birdies he's got in his head. And yeah, because nobody pays attention to him and he really craves attention, he's angry at the world. And he forgets about love that he talks so much about, okay? What does he have to say about space? Well, here's this. Space is created by the negative electric vortex, wave motions of negatively unwound electrically simulated light. Space does not contain matter. Space is the inversion of matter, and matter is enfolded space. Okay, so I guess matter is space turned around. The two give to each other endlessly via rhythmic balanced interchange of inwinding and unwinding twin opposing electrical vortices, which emanate from motionless blah, 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 blah. Okay, so these are the kinds of things you're going to find in his website, okay? Now, I do have to mention that he mentioned me because at one time, I attacked the establishment. I thought like he did. And so he does mention me in one of his articles. Okay, he might pull it down for all I know later on, but the point is that he does mention me in there, and I don't want you to confuse him with me and say, Bill is a follower or sympathizes with him. No, not at all. Not at all. So if you see that article there, it's got nothing, he just pulled it out, and because he's got this notion that you have the vortices. That's the only reason he put my name in there. Anyways, for a while, he ran around with another fellow by the name of Matt Presti. Okay, they formed some kind of partnership. Someone told me that it was a little more than a partnership. Okay, I guess they like to see themselves as cowboys, so maybe brings to mind the Brokeback type, midnight cowboys. And they did a lot of numbers. They're fanatic about all these weird numbers. The 1.618 ratio, the golden ratio. And judging by what this guy told me, I think they didn't do many threes. They did more like 6 and 9, But the point is that later on they divorced, I guess. They had a separation, a falling out. And Presti went back east to Virginia. And now he handles Russellian science, you can call it science, in the east in Virginia. And you can look up his site. He's a Russellian. He vouches for Walter Russell. He's got a museum on Walter Russell over there. And you have this other fellow here who is in the West, in California. He handles Russell over there. Okay, but my bottom line is, I don't want this fellow interfering with communication between people who come to the site. I'm quite liberal. I allow people to post anything they want. But Bobby boy, please behave. Okay, do not interrupt communication among people, especially in real time. Okay, that's not good. Okay, just work in your little hut, send the pipe bombs out, but don't mess around with communication. Okay, not good at all. Anyways, this is what you'll find in Presti's site over there in the east. Okay, Russellian so-called science. These are some of the titles you'll find there. Some are poems. Others are presentations, articles, a little bit of everything. Here you see some of the names. Okay, so if you're into the divine, whatever, then go back east and see Mr. Matt Presti, and he'll introduce you to, I guess, God. Right? God will work with you, but not for you. Okay, and yeah, it's all these spiritualists who bring all this stuff into science. And then they get angry at the world because the world doesn't pay attention to them. They say, you're crazy. That's what they tell them in their face. And they don't like that. And yeah, that's how the world runs.